Yikes, Groot starting off this list might cause a riot, but hear me out. I get that he carries a ton of muscle into fights. Rocket and Groot fit each other perfectly. I'm not trying to claim the two of them have no chemistry. I cannot call Groot a reliable sidekick though, and here's why. Remember when we first saw Groot? Here he is drinking out of a fountain and barely managing to do the job right. Sure, he helps Rocket, but did we forget about the time Groot pulled the battery out before the plan was ready to go? Oh, it's pure comedy gold, but he's certainly not an incredibly reliable sidekick. The only thing you can trust him for is the muscle. And then there's Baby Groot. Is it rude to pick on a child? Yeah, but come on, there was a chance he would push the wrong button here and ruin the entire plan. To put it another way, I'm not trusting Baby Groot with a ton of responsibility. He can't even find the right prototype fin for Yondu. What? No, that's a toad, not... Now, if you thought picking on Baby Groot was a low blow, I got some bad news for you. Harley is next on my list. You remember him, right? He's the teenager in this funeral scene that made half the theater say, "Who the heck is that kid? Is he the next Iron Man?" I know that because I was sitting next to the people asking that. That's not a joke. That really did happen. While Iron Man 3 isn't the grandest movie Marvel ever made, it has some great moments. I don't hate Harley's role, but he's a product of Shane Black's writing style. In terms of his contribution to the plot, it's minimal at best. The chemistry he has with Tony is great, but it feels more like a precursor to the Peter Parker dynamic we get a little later. Harley is someone dependable, though, and helps Tony discover some of the pieces to the film's big puzzle. You can't trust him with the Iron Man suit, but overall, he does manage to keep up with Tony's demands. For a kid, that's better than Baby Groot does, in my opinion. Happy Hogan is the OG sidekick, the very first one we ever met in the MCU. It was a smart move by Jon Favreau to keep himself in the cinematic universe without having to frequently direct movies for Marvel. Nice hustle, John. Brilliant move. I'm getting sidetracked though. Let's talk about Happy. If we were defining this list purely by loyalty, Happy would be number one without a doubt. He stays loyal to the dream Tony has for the world. I can't call him completely reliable though, because he has his limits. Happy is just one man, and Tony can't rely on him for everything. Here he is fighting with Black Widow's help. Can you imagine how that would have gone if just Happy went? Yeah, it would have taken ages. Happy Hogan has only failed to help a superhero once in the MCU that I can recall. In the first Spider-Man film, he refuses to listen to Peter Parker. His inability to trust Peter's instincts almost derailed his entire job. He wasn't a reliable sidekick then, but he certainly makes up for it in the sequel. Long-winded stories with fun characters, a hell of a right punch, and full unquestioned loyalty to Scott Lang. These are a few of the things I absolutely love about Luis. He is the quintessential comedic relief sidekick in the MCU. No other sidekick makes me laugh quite like Luis. I think a big part of that is the delivery and acting style of Michael Pena. He's one of a kind. Luis certainly matches Happy Hogan in terms of reliability. He will always be there for Scotty and doesn't question the plan. However, just like Happy, he is only human, so you can only trust him with limited responsibilities. I'd love to see Luis take the Ant-Man suit out for a spin though. That'd be hilarious. His left hook is the ultimate weapon, and he succeeds every time he's asked to help out the team. Yeah, he did reverse the van during the first film's pivotal moment, but he manages to capture the next movie's main villain. Luis makes a massive difference in every scene he gets to be in, and I can't imagine Ant-Man without him. Now here's an entry I struggled a little bit with placing. Look, I think Shuri is way more than a sidekick, which fits into her placement on this list. I agree with most of the fanbase that wants her to take the Black Panther mantle as the rightful successor. She'd rank near the top of this list if we were ranking sidekicks by power. However, that's not what I'm doing here. Remember, this list is about reliability. Shuri is someone T'Challa can rely on during most missions. She's a badass that mixes the best of Q from James Bond with a significant superhero like Iron Man. A lot of the technology designed in Wakanda comes from her ideas. It's that same modernist viewpoint that clashes with T'Challa early on in the movie. I look at it this way. Shuri is more of a leader than a follower. She's a pretty reliable sidekick, but there are times she resists getting on board with every idea T'Challa has. A considerable part of that resistance is the sibling aspect of the relationship. Shuri doesn't have to always listen to T'Challa. Are we supposed to call him Iron Patriot now? Ugh, the character already went through a casting change, and name change only makes it harder to keep up with him. I just want to talk about Colonel Rhodes as a sidekick. The guy lost the use of his legs fighting for Tony in Captain America Civil War. You can't diminish the sacrifice he makes to support his friend and the ideal. That being said, I have to mention the fact that he's a reluctant secondary antagonist for most of Iron Man 2. Now sure, Tony lets him steal the suit, but Rhodes still goes through with it. There was a level of betrayal there, even if it's temporary. Overall, Colonel Rhodes deserves this spot in the top 5 because he does so much to support Iron Man. He covers him in the early days and stands by him during the franchise's most significant moments. Rhodes is as reliable as they come. Ned is a geeky teenager in a sea of badass superheroes and big-time sidekicks. How the hell did he end up this high on the list? Well, most of my argument centers around Ned's role as the guy in the chair. He takes the role seriously and approaches it with a degree of naivety that you can only find in a high schooler. The minute Ned finds out Peter is Spider-Man, he instantly gets on board with helping him. Their bond is comparable to Happy and Tony's relationship. The only difference is Ned offers that extra wrinkle of tech help. Ned doesn't waver in finding ways to help Peter and even saves him during this big homecoming fight. Ned getting into a relationship during Far From Home puts a wrench in the dynamic, but that quickly gets worked out. The thing that makes Ned different is the fact that he needs to protect Peter's real identity like no other sidekick on this list needs to do. That makes him one of the most reliable characters on this list, no question about it. Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff come knocking on your door during a moment of crisis. What do? Well, if you're Sam Wilson, you submit your resume to get in on the cause with no questions asked. I think we tend to forget just how little Sam knew about Captain America before signing on to help. He trusted Cap with almost no questions asked and proved to be a reliable sidekick almost immediately. Now Falcon is the named successor that's destined to take up the shield for Captain America. He has graduated sidekick duties, but I can't help but respect the passion he puts into the role. One thing I especially enjoy about Wilson and Rogers' relationship is the fact that it all develops on screen. Most of the characters start out as dependable friends. Sam is one of the only ones we get to know as part of the character development. When the portals start opening, it's Falcon who gets a speaking line. He goes on the run and gives up his comfortable job simply to support Cap. He is undoubtedly one of the most reliable sidekicks in the MCU. Alright, if you don't consider Heimdall a sidekick, then we need to talk. His oath is to the ruler of Asgard, but we all know he stays loyal to Thor in every film. He watches over Thor and gives him the support needed to help him thrive. Try to imagine Thor without Heimdall's help. I mean, just imagine if Scourge was the protector of the Bifrost from the beginning. Asgard would be in ashes by the end of the first movie. Every single Thor film involves Heimdall directly helping Thor without even being asked to assist him. Heimdall clearly believes in Thor's potential to lead Asgard and aspires to get him there. I argue that he is a second father figure to Thor that gives him more support than Odin does at times. Look at Thor's reaction to Heimdall's death. You can feel the misery here. Losing Heimdall matches all the grief Thor feels for the loss of his family. He gives his all to making Thor the man he is, and Thor clearly gets a little lost without him at the end of Infinity War. That's how much he depended on Heimdall. He is more than worthy of this spot. Bucky Barnes is misused in Captain America: The First Avenger. That is the honest truth, and it is hard to deny his lack of impact on that story. Even Bucky's fake death scene doesn't match the moment. It's only afterward in Winter Soldier and beyond that he flourishes with the role. I put him on this list for a couple of reasons. For starters, he's one of the only people that shares Cap's lived experience and helps him adjust. Plus, everyone they put with Bucky is instantly made better. Watch him here with Rocket. He literally carries him in battle without a second thought. Bucky is a selfless sidekick, and that makes him the most reliable. Now that Steve Rogers is, for all intents and purposes, gone, it would be easy for Bucky to hang up the suit and call it a day. Instead, he is guiding Falcon and becoming a sidekick for the next generation's Captain America. He is so dependable that he stays to support Sam Wilson without even questioning Steve's decision. No question, Steve can rely on him for anything. He is with him to the end of the line.